What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Rebel Daily Drive. My name is Mike Cooper. I have a nice, cool Hey Reb hockey shirt that I really love. This is the Scarlet Standard. If you're a Rebel fan, there's a lot of things to be excited about today. MJ Thomas is a Rebel, the 6'8" forward at a University in New Orleans has committed to UNLV. He's the second portal edition of this cycle for Josh Pastner. Um, I think there's a lot to be excited there. He fills a hole and fixes a need that we've talked about, but we'll dive into that. And I think he's one that can genuinely get the fan base excited. And it doesn't stop there. Guard Terrence Ford Jr., the point guard out of Tulsa, is in Las Vegas on a visit. If Pastor can close that one as well, UNLV has a point guard for next season and a veteran that slides in the backcourt next to Isaac Williamson and Cam Miles. He would potentially be the third edition of this Porter cycle in the fifth player on the roster. Both of those moves are needed, and I think they're two good moves. But before we get into those, let's reset. Talk about the roster. I do this every episode, especially with how fast the turnover is and the movement of the portal. A lot has changed, and a lot is worth laying out. So let's get into it. Let's first put the full board on the table before we dig into the news. Like we've talked about, the confirmed returners, Isaac Williamson and Tyron Jones. The confirmed additions now, Cam Miles, the freshman guard out of Florida State, MJ Thomas, the sophomore forward out of the University of New Orleans, gone and officially gone. Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn, sounds like he's going to sign a big deal to go to Texas Tech. And he earned that payday. No hard feelings. Go get it, buddy. Go get him. I really want you to succeed. I hope you do very well at the power forward level like you have in the past. And you get a second crack at it. Mason Adamon committed to Weber State after redshirting last year. Good for him to go get some playing time. It's probably the level he should have went to out of high school. And hopefully he can bounce up again back to a UNLV or higher. Emmanuel Steffen has been crystal balled to South Carolina, which tells you kind of the strange situation that he was, the strange project that he was, and the hell of an agent that Emmanuel Steffen has. Lodging the belly, Miles Shea, my opinion. Fans have semi talked about their injury problems last year and the chances of them coming back. I would probably put that at 0. That's just my opinion. I think that situation both ran their course. Now, as Cunningham, that one kind of felt like a Pastner send-off from day one. So then there was no real surprise there when he entered the portal. Jacob Anarby's in the portal. Howie Fleming's in the portal, looking for one more year on a waiver. And then obviously you have the three other seniors, Kamani Hamilton, Al Green, and Walter Brown. So that's the current picture. 2 returners, 2 confirmed additions, visit that's happening right now, which could be a potential addition number 3. And our list that still needs to be addressed, but he's making progress. I think fans, I'll dive into this more, but I think fans need to pump the brakes on the expectation. UNLV's NIL is not where it needs to be, and we've talked about that before. Don't expect big splashes. Expect guys that are going to be pieces that piece together a roster that's going to fit Pastner's grit and toughness play style and fit a team. You need a team, not a superstar. If UNLV's history has shown you anything, Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn, Bryce Hamilton, EJ Harkless, those guys do not get you to the NCAA tournament. Great players, great scorers, not knocking them at all. Much respect to those guys. But you need a team around those guys. And I think fans have the unrealistic expectation that we need to go get the next superstar or be the next competition piece when you need to build a team. You need to have roles. You need to have defined. Do you need an alpha scorer? I've said that, yes, absolutely. But you need to have a team that goes around that. People have said, there's nothing to get excited about. There's nothing, I'm not a fan of what he's building. Well, guess what? He's filling the pieces and guys that he feels fits the best for the program. Do they have to be flashy on paper? No, they don't. And we'll talk about MJ Thomas. Gritty, dirty defensive player, high-level rebounder, great fit next to Tyron Jones. It wasn't on a lot of people's radars. Not the big splash that people have want. Not the $2 million that you're going to go spend on a guard when your NIL is somewhere between 4 and 5 million. You build and piece the fits that are there. You build and fit a team that's going to go win you games, and fit and that are coachable and that want to grow and can help develop that. Or some are long term pieces. Some are young. MJ Thomas is a sophomore. Could develop into something and go get a bag like Texas Tech. Or I'm sorry, like Dre Gibbs Lawhorn did potentially at Texas Tech. Cam Miles, developmental project we talked about yesterday. I'm sorry, on the 2 days ago. Could turn into a star. Could be the next DGO. Could be a piece that sticks around for 2 or 3 years because Pastner wants to use them to build. You have to remember, you need retention. You need to be able to build. And in this era, with the portal and money and NIL, and winning fixes a lot of that. So, yeah, that's just my piece on that for right now. But just as I mentioned the other day, the portal closes on the 21st. That doesn't mean teams, I should have clarified, that does not mean that teams can't stop recruiting. That just means players can no longer enter. You see a lot of action before then, people jumping in last minute, people jumping to different schools. A lot of commitments are coming. But I say it with the urgency of you're going to see a lot more commits after that close because, like some people have said on social media, those guys get passed over for maybe a second, third option for a higher level school or option number one for a smaller school and a G6 that's trying to compete. So we're going to see a lot of moving pieces over the next couple of days. You're going to see a lot of different guys that maybe UNLV wasn't even linked to, MJ Thomas being one of them. He was linked to Houston, ended up at UNLV. So it's going to be very interesting to see what those things are, how those turn out, what the turnover looks like. And like we've talked about, and like other people have talked about, can Pastner build a winner out of the portal? We'll see. I think that he does a lot better job than people give him credit for. And he's a better coach than people give him credit for. And he did a lot in a bad situation of injuries last year. You can kill me all you want. Lost games when he shouldn't have. Lost these certain games he shouldn't have. Lost this, lost that. Yeah, that happens when your team's decimated with injuries as they were. He got them into the conference tournament, won 11 conference games, won a first round game. It wasn't against Air Force. And I've always said year one, evaluation year. Year two, let's see what he can build. Can he build a team? Can he put a clear message on the board? Like, put a clear message to the conference that UNLV is back ready to compete. And that doesn't start. I've had people in my DMs saying that UNLV needs to make a splash. That's not it. And I get it. It's for clout. It's to rub it in another conference member's face. It's, you see Jake Hall and Uriah Tourette and these Mason Falslev and guys that are around at the same level as you returning to school. Well, UNLV had that in Tyron Jones. Situations are different. Winning at those programs helps. So if Pastner can build a team that buys in and can compete and is the team that he preaches that he wants on the floor, those guys are going to want to stay here. The Thomas and Mack is going to fill. Thomas and Mack is going to get back to consistently 12, 13,000 for when they played UT Martin, just like Lon Kruger had it. And we all want to see that little number next to UNLV's name again. So I just think pump the brakes a little bit. He's building something for methodically for a reason. Let him build the team. And at the end of the day, a lot of people put UNLV as the paper portal champion last year. And we saw how that turned out for year one for Pastner. So let's take a step back and just breathe, be patient, and let him build. Let his staff build. Let him have some time to fully recruit these kids, not to worry about, certain things. And I think that's the biggest thing, is he doesn't get the credit that he deserves. Let him build, let him try and win and see if he can improve off 18 wins. See if we can get to 25. But we need to have a team for that. And especially recruiting the extra 2 guys that he needs going from 13 to 15, you need foundational pieces. You need depth pieces. You need to build a rotation of guys to have 8, 9, 10 deep. Yeah, he, for whatever reason, every player that UNLV has been linked to is a 6'2", 6'3", or smaller guard. That doesn't mean that's the only people they're recruiting. That's only, a lot of these things get leaked out by agents, by players who are trying to get their player a better NIL deal. And we didn't hear about MJ Thomas a lot, if not at all, until we saw him start to pop up today in the last couple of days. Everything is a guard. That doesn't mean that there's not other things going on. That doesn't mean he's not going to try to recruit in wings and shooters and defensive guys and bigs, because obviously we have no bigs other than Tyron Jones. And, well, I guess if you count MJ Thomas as a big. But just because something is leaked out by an agent or pushed out by an agent that's told to these portal pages, I talk to these portal pages too. They're just like anybody else trying to get their info. Yeah, tipped in them from On3. Much respect to what they do. But they're just so focused on the big guys. They're not focused on the little guys, on the G6s, on the smaller than G6s schools. So you're not going to see as much information. You just have to dig and find it, and eventually you find it. And, respect to Cofield for when he was, pushing, telling fans during football, look for nuggets on social media. Look for things. Don't just read what players linked to the school. That's agents trying to get their player more money, or schools to start competing with each other to drive up the NIL to go to those schools. Just look at Caden Bug Edwards as an example. He was never going to UNLV. And I hate to break it to people. Rebel fans got their hopes up seeing that he was out there. Certain people say, oh, there's a chance now. No, he was never going to UNLV. He was going to Creighton from the time he entered the portal. Pastner was involved, but even they knew. Pastner and his staff was shocked that he took the visit to UNLV. When he took the visit, was only posting Creighton stuff, was reposting Creighton commits. UNLV staff was shocked that he took the visit. And usually, when in this day and age, if they take an in-person visit, they're probably going to commit. But that was never going to happen. He took a free trip to Vegas, and that's okay. Nothing against him. He's going to go get paid to go sit at Creighton behind BJ Davis and the other guards that they brought in that are older, veteran guys that are going to go compete and play in the Big East and help Allen Huss win. And that's okay. There's nothing against that. But that's just the prime example of what goes on in this portal. What goes on and competing in the back. It's just a shines the light on what goes on in those backdoor, conversations and deals. So take what you see with who's connected to who. Do I think the Taj Dugerville one is legit? I do think so. He's a Vegas kid. He is a wing. He fits the profile of a 3-and-D wing that I've been preaching Pastner to get. I think he would be one to come home. He's been linked to UNLV for a while. There were rumors last year that if certain guys got the job, him and Farrow were going to leave San Diego State and go to UNLV. That was pretty much a deal, but they had to hire a certain coach and they didn't. So I don't know. Pastner obviously didn't recruit him out of high school. That was Kruger. So we'll see what the connection he can build with. It kind of looks like a similar situation to Stanton. Stanton was never really a UNLV. There was talk. UNLV was heavily involved, more heavily involved, I would say, than the Bug Edwards. But the relationship, like for Stanton, was Joyner recruited him at Michigan, recruited him heavily. Michigan was in his final 3, I think, when he was coming out of high school because of Joyner. Joyner gets a head coaching job. Stanton hits the portal. Joyner gets him. Didn't get him the first time. There was a relationship there. He had no relationship with Josh. He had his relationships with Kevin. So it's just like Mason. Mason didn't have any relationship with Josh. He had Mason, other than before he came here. He had a relationship with Kevin. Redshirted under Josh. Transferred out, went to Weber State. It's things like that. You have to look for certain things, and I just think people are getting way too caught up in like the everyday this and this and this. I retweet a lot, and that's fine. I put it out there so fans know, but I'm not getting caught up with that. I reach out. I try to talk to as many people as I can. I'm not trying to be an insider, but I just want to get information for people. And obviously, I was burned with the Dre stuff, so I'm a little hesitant on stuff sometimes, but it is what it is when it comes to that. I just think G6s are always going to be stepping stone schools until they decide to either one, put a handle on this NIL stuff, or somebody just starts these, like for UNLV for example, somebody just starts donating money and it's just they turn into Gonzaga. And that's just how it is. That's my opinion. I think that's enough talk of that. I want to talk about MJ Thomas, some more exciting news, some more exciting, conversation. He's a rebel. And here in my opinion is what you're getting. And let me tell you who just walked in the door, because Rebel fans, you've been asking for this type of player, this type of guy. You've been watching this program go through the motions in the front court for years. You've been watching teams push UNLV around on the glass for years. You've been watching second chance points piled up against this team every single night for years. I think that era is over with Tyron Jones and MJ Thomas. The numbers are not what you expect from a Southland Conference forward. He plays at a much higher level than that. He's a 6'8", 225 power forward. He's a sophomore, 2 years of proven production at New Orleans. His freshman season, played 31 games with 27 starts. He averaged 11.2 points, 7.8 rebounds, and shot 48% from the field. This past season, 32 games, 30 starts, 10.8 points, 8 rebounds a game, 53.1% from the line. His efficiency went up. His free throw shooting went up. The rebounding held at the same rate and actually ticked up a little bit. He shot 146 free throws last year. He gets in the paint, he draws contact, and converts. And that's the kind of 2-year development you want to see when you are projecting a player's next step. Let me tap in real quick. I did find some clips of him. There's not a lot of film out there on him, at least that I could find. I did find some Instagram stuff. So let's see. Let me play this clip for you guys. Oh, I guess this one's not a clip. Just kidding. I clicked on the wrong one. This one. I just think he's different. I mean, plays at the rim. He plays hard, gets on the floor. Master P was hyping him up because obviously Master P is their NIL person for New Orleans. He called him a Dennis Rodman type player. Does the dirty work to win, gets on the floor for loose balls. No, he called him a leader in the locker room. Here we go. This one's better, actually. Shit. You can kind of see he's a very good finisher, can finish through contact. This is also another Master P post. Master P's the only one I could really find. He only took 3 threes last year. He didn't take any as a freshman. Both of them were against Houston, and he hit them both. But yeah, I just can't find a lot of film on him. I went back and watched some game film, though. It's very good. I think he plays very hard. I think, too, now you got to put the context numbers because we got to put context to the numbers because I think the averages undersell how well Thomas actually played. Freshman year, he set the school record for rebounds by a freshman in a conference game with 18 against East Texas A&M. He matched the school record for points in a game by a freshman at 32, a record that has stood since 1979 for New Orleans. He was only one of 3 freshmen in the entire country with a game of 18 or more rebounds. Only one of 8 freshmen nationally to score 30 or 32 or more in a game. He averaged 3.06 offensive rebounds per game, which was the 41st in the entire country. First in this conference. He was 76 nationally overall in rebounding. The man is an animal on the glass. Is relentless, plays with that grit and pressure that Pastner wants. And if Rebel fans are paying attention, you guys mentioned to me when I first put in portal needs that we need a ferocious rebounder. Well, that's it. That's your guy right there. Rebel fans paying attention to the portal should have circled this name the moment that he hit. And the games get better against better competition too. Scored 17 points with 8 rebounds against Houston, where he went 8 for 8 from the free throw line. He had 13 against Mississippi State when he went 7 for 7 from the free throw line. He averaged 13 and a half points and 13 rebounds in the Southland Conference tournament. Those performances matter because they help tell you whether it's a system or a player. And that's a player. And I think, it's not a player who wilts when the lights get bright. It's not a player that Houston wanted him, so that should tell you all you need to know. Kelvin Sampson and Pastner, if there's any program that Pastner should model his program after, it's Houston, especially for the grit and toughness side. I think too that, some stats don't always define a player, but it helps with evaluating the player. And I think that he has traits that can translate beyond, the level of the Southland. And I think UNLV got a good one. I think it's a good background, good start. And I think, he had offers from Texas Tech, Oklahoma State coming out of high school. And I just think that he went to a smaller school, proved that he could play, proved the style that he plays. And on the court, he brings you a clear identity. He's a paint scorer, high-level rebounder, doesn't stretch the floor, but that's not his game right now. His value comes from how he scores, how he creates the extra possessions, like I mentioned on the offensive rebounding side. He's a cutter, he's a finisher, gets the spots, draws contact, and he converts. And I think, like I mentioned, the 53.1% field goal percentage and 146 free throw attempts last year tell you that the shot selection is good, and he provides a lot of interior pressure. And I don't think that's accidental production. That's a repeatable skill set that translates. And I think the fans inside the Thompson Mac are going to love this guy, get after it, get on the floor, and work every single night. And in my opinion, the rebounding is what separates him. And honestly, I think it's what the fan base has been starving for. If you watched last season, I know you guys did. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Missed shots that died on the floor, offensive rebounds that turned into easy baskets, possessions that evaporated because nobody was fighting for him. Thomas is going to fight for him. He has the motor, he has the positioning, the second jump ability that will translate. And I think he's shown that over the 2 full seasons that he played at New Orleans. And those traits are difficult to teach. Skills you can teach. You can't teach effort, and you can't teach heart, and this kid has that. And plus, they're even harder to fake those. So I think every second chance point that he creates is the possession this program was leaving on the floor last season. And I think there's real room to grow too. I think he is going to need more face-up elements, more polish as a passer out of the short pick and pops and pick and rolls. I think a little bit better decision-making when the defense double teams him. But the feel is there. Making it consistent, kind of like I mentioned with Cam Miles, is the consistency needs to be there as well. And you don't need those things to contribute right away. I think what he does is enough with the pressure, the finishing ability, the free throw, getting to the free throw line, his offensive rebounding ability. Those things are already established. And I think those are what UNLV needs most. So I think there's potential for growth, and there's potential for real, he could be an all-conference performer next year, in my opinion. But like people have hit on, and I agree with the pushback on him. The competition jump is real and worth being honest about. The Mountain West is a longer and more physical lead than the Southland Conference. The paint's tighter, windows close faster, and how quickly the offensive game adjusts is something to watch for Thomas. But I think the rebounding, the physicality, and motor are always going to travel. And he's not coming here to figure things out from scratch. He's coming here with a proven foundation and a chance to get really polished and developed by Josh Pastner and his staff. I think, UNLV added a front court piece that's strengths match what exactly the roster missed last year. You kind of saw flashes with that with Jacob Anarby, but this is a real proven better version of that, I think, and it's a real grit and toughness type player that Pastner wants. And I think with Tyron Jones being 6'9" and probably growing still, MJ Thomas at 6'8", you have real length. You're gonna have some real physicality. You're gonna have guys that rebound and defend, and that's gonna make life difficult for opponents. And I think that's hasn't been around this program in a long time. And I think he's going to be a great fit. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how they mold and mesh. But I think you're going to see that with every player. But MJ, welcome to Las Vegas. We're excited to have you. You're going to be, I think the potential to be an all-conference player next season. And let's segue a little bit. Terrence Ford Jr., the point guard from Tulsa, he is on a visit. Well, was on a visit. I'm not sure if he still is at UNLV this week. Point guard's been a big topic basically since the beginning of last season when Miles Shea went down. But Terrence Ford Jr. could be the potential bridge gap to be a starting point guard. We obviously know what this offense looked like last year with somebody that basically without a true point guard. And it just, I just think that not having a point guard is the biggest need on this roster. He's the point guard out of Tulsa, played 3 seasons before that at Arkansas State. Before I tell you what he could bring, I want to give you a full picture of who he is and this complicated kind of evaluation of him. He's a 6'1", 175 redshirt junior guard from Chicago. His timeline is very interesting. Freshman year at Arkansas State was very good. Sophomore season, only played 2 games because of injury. Junior year, he was one of the best point guards in the Sun Belt. Transferred to Tulsa. Another injury. He had wrist surgery. Missed the entire season last year. So you're looking at a guy that has had 2 injury-shortened seasons out of 4 years of college basketball. And that's just, the injury concerns are real, and it's the honest picture coming into this evaluation. But this is what he is on the floor. His freshman year at Arkansas State, played 32 games, started 15, played 30 minutes a game, shot 40% from 3 on 40.6% from 3 on 101 attempts. Real volume, real efficiency. He averaged 10.8 points, led the team in steals, scored 20 or more points 4 times, including 2 25-point games, went 5 for 5 from 3 in a 22-point game against Georgia State. And as a freshman, you could see that he had a very high ceiling. Obviously, sophomore year comes, plays 2 games, gets hurt, misses the entire season. Junior year, played 35 games for Arkansas State, started 31, averaged 9 points, 2 rebounds, and 4.9 assists in 30 minutes per game. He led the Sun Belt in assist to turnover ratio at 2.33 to 1 assist, and he led the Sun Belt in total assists with 170. In conference play, his assist number skyrocketed. He went to 6.2 assists per game. He averaged 3.3 assists to 1 turnover, and his assist turnover ratio. He shot 42% from the field, 40.4% from 3. In league play, he shot 45% from the field and 44% from 3. He was a Sun Belt All-Tournament team, and he had 3 games with 10 assists or more. So he had a lot of flashes when he was a junior, especially coming off injury, getting his groove in conference play. He didn't play a minute for Tulsa this year. The medical question is obviously a big one in his evaluation. I think that, UNLV getting this far in his recruitment and watching his film a little bit, which I'll pull up actually right now. 1 second. I'll pull this up so we can watch some film of him as I finish talking about this. Please hold real fast. Let me pull this over here. Okay. Where was that? I think, with this visit happening, UNLV has done enough homework to feel good about bringing him in. You don't put a player on a plane to come out to Vegas and visit without having the medical questions answered to your satisfaction first. I think that matters. I think that plays a big role in this. I think what Ford would give you is something this team desperately needs right now. There's nobody on offense, nobody on the roster who can reliably run an offense in the half court, push the pace, or create offense on his own off the dribble for him and others. Um, Tyron Jones, I don't think is that. I think Tyron Jones can be a primary option, but he's not a guy that can run an offense and get things. You play through him, but you need a point guard to settle things down. And I know that there was a lot of talk about the Dave Rice era. The thing that killed the Dave Rice era was he never had a true point guard, or when he did, the point guard got hurt. So I think that he's going to give this team something that they desperately needed last year, and they desperately would need going forward, which is a point guard that can run the team. He distributes the ball. He can shoot. He doesn't lose possessions, especially with his very high to low turnover ratio. He's played real college basketball games that mean something. Played in the Sun Belt Championship as it's showing right now. I think he could have been a big piece for that Tulsa team last year. But if this visit turns into a commitment, the program has I think this is probably your starting point guard, at least as of what the roster would have on paper. He would be either, the lead ball handler, lead guard, something that, UNLV's needed for a long time with its program, with how things are and have things been. Having a true point guard is definitely going to help. And I think that's what Terrence Ford brings you. I think this is definitely one to keep an eye on. I think we may see something hopefully this weekend. So if you can have that, you get a rebounder that we've all asked for in Thomas. You get a point guard in Ford. You get your two key freshmen in returning, in Tyron Jones and Isaac Williamson. You get another key piece in Cam Miles, who's a developmental rotational piece. Obviously there's still holes to fill. And let's talk about a few things real quick that I've been seeing and hearing from Rebel fans, because there's some real questions out there, worth addressing. The Drake Gibbs Lawhorn thing. Drake Gibbs Lawhorn, like I mentioned, is probably head to Texas Tech. Reports have him somewhere in the $2 million range at Texas Tech. UNLV was never going to match that. And honestly, they honestly shouldn't have tried. You can't build a sustainable program paying one player that kind of money, especially at the level of UNLV. And when you have, a roster to fill out with some major holes to build around them. DGL, go get your money. You earned it. You were the best scoring guard, one of the best scoring guards that this program has seen and the conference has seen in at least 15 years. And we got one season of it. It stings, but, go get your bag. You earned it. Emmanuel Steffen going to South Carolina. Reportedly, he was crystal balled there. Honestly, that one doesn't sting at all. If you watched them last year, you know how that went. I just think not every roster piece is meant to carry over. And, Nas wasn't one of them. Mason sucks that he wasn't, but you could see why. Went to Weber State. Good for him. He's going to have a chance to play. That just kind of tells you where the talent level was. Jacob Anarby has been one that fans have, been upset about. He's a high IQ basketball player. He could rebound, and he was a good passer for the big man. He's probably their best passing big that Pastner had last year. Some fans want him back, and I understand why. He could fit into the rotational side with Tyron Jones and now MJ Thomas, but he's in the portal, and he has to figure out what the right spot is for himself. And if Pastner and him could get money to work and he can come back, because reportedly that's what the issue was, then good. If not, then that's just, the world we live in, and I'm interested to see where he ends up. Howie Fleming is one worth watching as well. If that waiver comes through, somebody's getting a versatile, experienced playmaker who can contribute right away. I think Pastner would be in on him to come back, and I think that may have been one to, okay, go see what you got out there, go see what we can do, come back with us, see if we can get you a waiver. And I think it's, a lot has to go right for that potentially to happen. I don't think it's impossible, and I think that he could be the veteran leader that this team would need. I've seen his name floated around by Rebel fans about a player they wanted to come back, and I could see it. I don't think it's impossible. A lot has to go right. Money, finances. Money. The NCAA giving him an extra year. Is it the right fit with the Pastner roster he's trying to build? What was their relationship like? I'm not going to play here and speculate, but I think that if they can make it work, then I think that he would be welcome. In my opinion, should be welcome back with open arms. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about those a little bit. But let's talk about the list of needs that I've mentioned over and over again. Because obviously the 2 additions don't close those needs, because there's still 11 roster spots to fill. And I still see the 6 holes on the roster. You need a true lead guard, true lead point guard. You need an alpha. You still need a wing shooter. You needed a ferocious rebounder, an interior presence. Somebody that can help protect Tyron and actually contribute to help him. And the last piece was a stretch 4 and just overall better scoring. Thomas checks the box as the rebounder and interior presence. You still need probably 2 more pieces there. I think, the ferocious rebounder was need number 1, and you hit that with Tyron Jones and Thomas. If Ford commits, that gives you the lead point guard spot. And I think that can check off that box. He's a proven distributor who led his conference in assist to turnover ratio and shoots 40% from 3. I think that helps address one of the biggest needs on the roster with actually having a true point guard and some versatility in shooting. Because obviously right now, Cam Miles is the developmental piece. Isaac Williamson isn't a lead guard. So I think Ford puzzles in and adds another piece to that layer to help build a decent rotation for the backcourt. But, there's still a lot of holes. I think you need to add, you potentially say, okay, off my list, that's 2 needs of the 6 filled. But you still need more bigs, which there's probably going to be start linking to in the next couple days. Wing shooters and another veteran guard for your rotation. And I just think more scoring depth and maybe a stretch 4 throw in there. But I think the list is getting shorter. Holes are starting to be filled a little bit, but it's nowhere near being done. Pastner and his staff got to keep working. And, we're going to see how and where that they are looking and headed. Don't always read who they're linked to, because those are not always accurate, for 1, and 2 are smoke screens put up by agents. But we'll end on this. This is where we stand on April 18th. MJ Thomas is a Rebel, the 6'8" forward who rebounds at a very, very high level and fills one of the biggest front court needs that this team needs. Terrence Ford Jr. is on his visit in Vegas right now. A proven Sunbelt lead guard, point guard who can shoot, but comes in with medical questions. But yeah, Rebel fans, this off season's been moving. I know how long you've been waiting. I know that you're dying to get back to the NCAA tournament. I know with the last 13 years, I felt like I was 17. I'll be 30 in a month. And I was 17 when UNLV was the last in the NCAA tournament. But I think, what they're piecing together is starting to look like a team and starting to look like it's going in the right direction. Got to stay locked in with it. Be patient and don't expect the big splash. Just expect, have a team of guys that want to play and play well together. And that's all we could ask for. Paper champions don't win conference championships. You don't win the conference championship in April. You win it in March next year. Just be patient. And like we always say, and like we always do, we'll be on every development right here on the Scarlet Standard, right here on the Rebel Daily Drive. When Ford, if he commits, we'll be on it immediately. get more of a breakdown of him. Make sure you like and subscribe with every Rebel fan that you know. Like, subscribe, and share with every Rebel fan that you know. Make sure you check out Vegas Varsity. Use my code SSM10 for 10% off your order. That 10% goes directly to me. It helps me cover the team on the road. He is my road sponsor, been a great partner, and he has the best UNLV gear in town. No question about it, hands down. And like you know, my name is Mike, and for the Scarlet Standard, stay loud, stay loyal, bring back K-Reb, and go Rebels.